بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. So inshallah today I'll be doing a summarization of an important book. The book is called The Devil's Deception or Talbis Iblis. So the book was written by a sheikh called Ibn al-Jawzi. He died like, I think it was 595, so almost more than 1,000 years ago. Almost 1,000 years. So he talks about how shaitan deceives many people and he misguides them. So we know that, as the Shaykh also mentioned in his book, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exposed the shaitan and his tricks. So we have the story of Adam alayhi salam mentioned in the Quran and how he took Adam out from Jannah. And then many other ayats, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us about shaitan's tricks and that we should take him as an enemy. So some of these ayats are, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا خُطُوَاتِ الشَّيْطَانِ, don't follow the footsteps of shaitan. إِنَّهُ لَكُمْ عَدُوٌّ مُبِينٌ, he's a sworn enemy to you, so he's an enemy. Also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us like what he orders people. So he doesn't order people any good, only evil. إِنَّمَا يَأْمُرُكُمْ بِالسُّوءِ وَالْفَحْشَاءِ وَأَن تَقُولُوا عَلَى اللَّهِ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. That he only incites, for people to commit evil and indecencies and to make lies about Allah or to claim something that's not true about Allah. Also, he makes people afraid of poverty, especially those who have money. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, الشيطان يعدكم الفقر ويأمركم بالفحشاء والله يعدكم مغفرة منه وفضلا والله واسع عليم. So the devil threatens you with the prospects of poverty and bids you to the shameful deeds, like he wants you to do haram things and stinginess. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promises forgiveness and great bounties. Allah is all-knowing and all bountiful, all-knowing. So these ayats all talk about Allah's warning us of shaitan. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that shaitan wants to mislead people. يُرِيدُ الشَّيْطَانُ أَن يُضِلَّهُمْ ضَلَالًا بَعِيدًا. Again, Allah said that he wants to put hatred between people and enmity. And he uses alcohol and gambling to do that. And he wants to block them from the remembrance of Allah, avert them from the remembrance of Allah and Salah. Also, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and this is his number one goal, he wants to call people to hellfire. إِنَّ الشَّيْطَانَ لَكُمْ عَدُوٌّ فَاتَّخِذُوهُ عَدُوًّا إِنَّمَا يَدْعُو حِزْبَهُ لِيَكُونُوا مِنْ أَصْحَابِ السَّعِيرِ. Allah said, shaitan is your enemy, so take him as an enemy, because he's only taken his people or his party to hellfire. Also, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also tells us that he deceives people, and this is the point of the book, which is he deceives people, he makes them think and see things in the wrong way, so he can misguide them. So Allah said, إِنَّ وَعْدَ اللَّهِ حَقًّا فَلَا تَغُرَّنَّكُمُ الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا. So Allah said, Allah's promise is true, don't let the world deceive you. وَلَا يَغُرَّنَّكُمْ بِاللَّهِ الْغَرُورُ. And don't let the greatest deceiver deceive you, which is shaitan. So his work is just to deceive people. So you can see in these ayats, Allah tells us, don't follow the footsteps of shaitan. He incites people to do haram. That's what he calls people to speak without knowledge. He threatens people of poverty, losing power, friendship. He uses tricks to misguide people and to avert them through gambling and intoxicants and alcohol. He's a clear enemy. That's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us. So how could we be safe from shaitan? We're going to see inshallah that shaitan's weakness is by turning to Allah and remembering Allah, and also by seeking refuge in Allah from him. So, but then how, as you can see here, like it's hard to stay safe from him. Why? Because he targets your weak points. So he's calling humans to do something that is consistent with their nature. So wherever people like at their weak spots, some people like money, some people like women, some people like alcohol, Some people like, for example, being popular, whatever. So any weakness they have, he pushes them towards that. Okay, so he says pushes them to like pushing a ship that's already going downhill. Just imagine how fast it would go. So that's what Ibn Jawzi said. So just imagine this canoe is going down, hill or going down this water. If somebody pushes it, it's going to go faster. It doesn't even need to be pushed. So that's exactly how shaitan works. He looks where people's weaknesses are, and then he just directs them towards that direction. So he's not going to tell a poor person, or if you lose, for example, he's not going to waste his time telling a poor person you're going to become rich if you give this little bit of money you have, or if you give something for charity, you're going to become poor and this. So he knows this person's already poor. So he's going to direct him to something else. And the rich person, he's gonna direct him towards what he's already afraid of. This is how shaitan works. And the way he does a lot of this is by influencing the intellect, like how people see the truth. Okay, so example of Sharia, Ibn Jawzi says, the example of the Sharia, like the religion, and practicing Islam, wearing hijab, staying away from alcohol, staying away, like practicing Islam is the Sharia. And he says it's like the sun. Okay, everybody can see the sun. It's there, right? Like as you can see in the picture, especially if people look at the sun, like when it's setting, you can see it when it's setting, when it's rising. Obviously, it's not good to look at it when it's in the middle of the sky, but nobody can deny that sun there, and they can all see it. But if someone has a problem with his eyes, if the eye is healthy and he doesn't need any, person's not blind, then he'll see it. But if the person has a problem with his eyes, then he won't see the sun properly. So this is how shaitan works. Nobody can deny the Sharia is true, but then it's like he puts on glasses for them, or he puts on something, you can even say virtual reality or something else. So he blocks them from seeing the truth. So a lot of what the Sheikh talks about in the book is like that. Shaitan says to these people, do this. Like, for example, the book he talks about how he influences the logic or the thinking of the rich people, the poor people, the lay people. So he says, like, even the Christians, the Jews, the atheists, all of them, Shaitan, tells them something. For example, even Shaitan might tell you something when you're in Salah. He might say, oh, you forgot this. Or he will tell you, yeah, when you finish your Salah, you need to go quickly, don't pray Sunnah. So, because you need to do this, he gives you logical ideas. Okay. Also, Shaitan has chains that he uses. Let me go back. So he has chains, like as you can see, as in this picture, someone shackled there with a chain. He has those to kind of stop people from going on the straight path. The first one is ignorance. Okay, he uses ignorance, which means the person doesn't learn about Islam. He doesn't learn what's halal, what's haram. That's the strongest one. That's easy. It's easy for him to misguide a person like that through ignorance. The second is lust, like desires. People like, committing zina, they like drinking alcohol. These are all lust and desires to fulfill the desires. The next is negligence, like people who don't care. I don't care what happens, especially people who get angry, want to fight, they don't care about the consequences. This is somebody who just doesn't care about the consequences. This is how Shaitan also uses these to kind of stop the person from staying on the straight path. Okay, like a question somebody might ask: does Iblis take a break? Does he sleep? So a man asked Hassan al-Basri, does Iblis ever sleep? And he answered, if he did, then we would find some rest. So basically, 24/7, he's on the mission to misguide you. Okay, he can't do it physically, but he will speak to you and he will put thoughts into your mind. So this is how he works. He doesn't come to us physically and shackle us down, but it's through, like I said to you, deception and whispers. Okay, but we know that in Ramadan he does get shackled. Only in Ramadan. That's the only time you kind of get rest from him. Other than that, He's there 24/7, 365 days a year, or the whole year, basically. Also, people are getting worse. We know that. So one of the Salaf, he said, I met the devil. So he told me I used to meet people to teach them evil, but now I meet people to learn from them. So he's saying that now when he comes to see these people, so people, I don't know, maybe the Sheikh is speaking metaphorically, or he's speaking. It's not like the Sheikh actually met the devil, but he's trying to put forward a point to say that people are getting really bad, that even Shaitan now is finding it hard to keep up with them. They're coming up with so many ways using new technology to basically misguide people. And Shaitan is learning from them. Oh, he's learning about the new technology, he's learning about TikTok, he's learning about these websites that have haram things. So it's just like, the AI, people are using AI, it's learning. Shaitan is also learning from people's technology and ideas. Now we look at the steps. Ibn Qayyim also, he has a book. He also wrote a book called Supporting the Distress from the Tricks of Shaitan. So he has a book as well. And he mentions in his book the steps that Shaitan takes to misguide people as well. So the first one is he tries to make them fall into disbelief. Okay, tries to make them into a kafir. Why does he start that one? Because that's the most deadly. For example, he will ask them questions: who created this? Who created that? And then later on, he will move to, okay, who created God? Okay, who created Allah? And then that's when Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Say a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim." Okay, so there's certain things. This basically with the spread of atheism and people being far from religion, that's going to influence the Muslims as well. So he starts with the most deadly, tries to make the person a kafir, and he probably won't be able to do that with a lot of Muslims. Next, he moves to the next step, which is sorry, I'm going to read you. Then he moves to making people fall into innovation and bid'ah. Okay, so bid'ah and innovation is when we've already learned is when somebody invents something new, adds something new to the religion. And why does he like bid'ah? Is because even Sufyan al-Thawri said bid'ah is more beloved to Iblis than a regular sin, because it is possible to repent from a regular sin, but not possible to repent from a bid'ah. It's very hard for a person who's in bid'ah to repent. Why? Because they always think they're right. But if a person's drinking alcohol, committing zina, he knows he's made a mistake, but it's temptations, and if his iman gets stronger, he would stop. But with the person who has bid'ah, who's falling into bid'ah, or like for example, even some bid'ah could be kufr as well. Even like for example, some of the Shia, it's hard to argue with some of the Shia and people who worship graves. It's hard to argue with them, or worshipping Qadir, Abdul Qadir, Jilani. So he goes into bid'ah because it's hard to repent from bid'ah. Then he tries to make the person commit sins, major sins, like drinking alcohol, committing zina, and so on and so forth. If he can't do that, he moves to the next one. He tries to make them commit minor sins. And he makes them fall into a lot of minor sins. And say if he can't do that, he makes the person fall into extravagance in the permissible, like enjoy a lot of halal things, but then those halal things would make him miss out on duties, or he would waste money and things like that. So these are the steps he follows. I think there's one more. The next one is not prioritizing the most important. For example, he will make you busy with, for example, reading Quran, and then he will make you miss Salah. Or he will make you stay awake all night, pray tahajjud, and then make you miss Fajr. Or for example, he will make you, will tell you, yeah, you're reading Quran, you don't need to listen to your parents, or you don't need to respond to your parents. And responding to the parents is more important than, for example, reading Quran. So he kind of makes you mess up your priorities. And with Shaitan, it's a bit like what's in this picture. He makes you go down steps. Remember we said Shaitan makes you follow steps? It's like he makes you walk down these steps into a hole, and the only way a person can get out from that hole is to walk up again or come out from that again. So it takes time to come out from it because he influences people in a very dangerous way, and it's hard to completely change overnight. It takes time, unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills. So that's how shaitan works. Looking at the bid'ah, we look at that one. So here also Sufyan al-Thawri said, no, it's Al-A'mash said, a man used to interact with the jinn, and he told me, nobody's tougher on us than the follower of the sunnah. As for those who follow their lusts, we play with them easily. So he's saying the person who follows bid'ah, they play with him, you know? Or for those who follow their lust, even bid'ah as well. Like it's easy to give them other things. Like a person who's drinking alcohol, it's easy to give him drugs, easy to make him commit zina. But the person who's already following the sunnah is hard to influence him. And we've had incidents like these today, where you have like a Russian magician, a Russian witch. She's saying that she couldn't influence Muslims, those who because they're always praying or reading the Quran, and like that. Okay, I go down. So I'll just tell you, for example, these steps. There's a story I'll tell you quickly. You probably know a story of a man who was a very pious person, and he was like a sheikh. And this is the stories of Banu Israel. So it happened before. So this person, he used to be like an imam or muaddin, or someone who's